In old age, never forgive these 7 betrayals in relationships. Advice from old people. As we grow older, our time becomes more precious. Every moment, every relationship, and every choice matters more than ever before. We have spent decades learning, loving, and sacrificing. And by now, we have also experienced the deep wounds of betrayal. Some people will tell you that forgiveness is the key to peace, that letting go is a virtue. But the truth is, not every betrayal deserves forgiveness. In fact, some betrayals should never be forgiven because they cost us more than we can afford to lose. In your later years, protecting your heart, your dignity, and your peace is more important than maintaining toxic relationships. Here are 7 betrayals that you should never forgive in old age because your well-being depends on it. 1. Betrayal of trust, the poison that can never be fully removed. Trust is not something we hand out carelessly. It is built over time, strengthened by shared experiences, and reinforced by consistency. By the time we reach old age, we have learned the hard way that trust is not just about words, it is about actions. A person who truly values you will protect your trust like the fragile, irreplaceable thing that it is. But when trust is broken, something within us shatters, something that no apology, no justification, no amount of regret can fully restore. Betrayal of trust is not simply about a lie or a single act of deception. It is about the realization that someone you once believed in has made a conscious decision to deceive you. And it is in that moment when the truth comes to light that you see things clearly, not just what they did, but what it means about who they are. A person who is willing to betray you is telling you something fundamental. Your trust was never as important to them as their own desires, their own comfort, their own gain. In old age, this betrayal cuts even deeper because time is no longer an endless resource. We do not have decades ahead of us to rebuild relationships that should never have been broken in the first place. When someone violates our trust at this stage in life, they are not just stealing our peace of mind. They are stealing our remaining years, filling them with unnecessary pain, doubt, and disappointment. And that is a theft we cannot afford. People will tell you that forgiveness is necessary for healing, that carrying resentment only harms you in the end. But what they fail to understand is that some betrayals do not simply fade away with time. Some linger in the heart, altering the way we see the world, forcing us to question our own judgment. The pain of being deceived does not come solely from the act itself, but from the understanding that we misjudged someone so completely that we placed our faith in the wrong hands. Perhaps the hardest truth about betrayal is that it rarely comes from strangers. It comes from the people closest to us, the friend we confided in, the family member we trusted, the partner we built a life with. And because of that, it carries a weight that no words can erase. Some people will ask for forgiveness not because they regret what they did, but because they cannot stand to live with the consequences of their actions. They will try to convince you that their betrayal was a mistake, that they never meant to hurt you, that they will never do it again. But trust is not a toy that can be broken and glued back together without consequence. It is like glass. Once shattered, it may still exist, but it will never be the same. In the final chapters of life, we must protect our peace above all else. There are people who will never betray us, people who will stand by us with unwavering loyalty. Those are the ones who deserve our time, our love, our energy. As for those who have broken our trust, let them live with the weight of their own actions. Some betrayals are simply too costly to forgive. 2. Emotional manipulation, when love becomes a weapon against you. Emotional manipulation is one of the most dangerous betrayals because it does not announce itself loudly. It does not break down the door or leave visible scars. Instead, it creeps in slowly, quietly, wrapping itself around you like a vine until one day you realize you can no longer move freely. And the worst part, it often comes from the very people who claim to love you the most. Manipulation is not always cruel words or harsh demands. Sometimes it is disguised as concern, disguised as love. It is the friend who makes you feel guilty for setting boundaries. It is the adult child who reminds you of all you have done for them, not with gratitude, but with expectation, as if your past sacrifices mean you now owe them everything. It is the partner who withdraws their affection whenever you do not meet their unspoken demands, forcing you to constantly prove your worth. It is the person who tells you that your feelings are exaggerated, that your memory is faulty, that you are being difficult, until you begin to doubt yourself entirely. Emotional manipulation is a betrayal because it takes something pure, love, care, trust, and twists it into something that serves only one person. It does not seek to support you, but to control you. It does not respect your independence, but seeks to make you dependent. And the longer you allow it, the more it erodes your confidence, your sense of self, your ability to trust your own judgment. By the time we reach old age, we should not have to fight for respect or justify our emotions. We have spent decades caring for others, giving our time, our energy, our love. We have earned the right to be treated with honesty and dignity. Yet for many, manipulation does not stop as we age. It only changes form. People assume that because we are older, we are more vulnerable, more easily persuaded, more likely to second guess ourselves. And so they push. They use guilt, silence, and subtle pressure to make us comply with their wishes, knowing that we have been conditioned over a lifetime to keep the peace, to put others first, to not make a fuss. But at this stage in life, we must ask ourselves, at what cost? How much of our own happiness are we willing to sacrifice to keep someone else comfortable? The answer should be clear: no more. If a relationship requires you to silence your own needs, to question your own reality, to constantly explain why you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect, then it is not love. It is control. And you do not have to forgive that. The people who truly love you will never use your kindness against you. They will never make you feel small so they can feel powerful. They will not twist your words or use your past against you. If someone in your life manipulates you, recognize it for what it is: not love, not care, not concern, but a deliberate act of control. And once you see it, do not excuse it. Do not accept it, because the only way to escape manipulation is to refuse to participate in it. And in old age, your peace is worth more than any relationship built on deceit. 3. Financial exploitation. The silent theft that leaves you powerless. There is no betrayal more calculated than financial exploitation. It is not an impulsive mistake or an emotional outburst. It is cold, deliberate, and deeply personal. It is carried out by someone who has looked at you, not with love, not with respect, but as an opportunity. And by the time you realize what has been taken, the damage has already been done. Money, at this stage of life, is more than just numbers in a bank account. It represents security. It represents independence. It represents the ability to make choices on your own terms. And yet, there are those who see it as something to be taken from you, as if your years of hard work, sacrifice, and careful planning exist solely for their benefit. They do not care that you spent decades earning what you have. They do not care that you made careful decisions, saved for the future, and hope to enjoy your final years with peace of mind. They care only that you have something they want, and they will stop at nothing to take it. Financial exploitation does not always come as outright theft. It is often disguised in kindness, wrapped in the illusion of love and concern. It is the adult child who constantly asks for loans but never repays them, making you feel guilty for even bringing it up. It is the family member who convinces you to change your will in their favor, promising to take care of you while secretly ensuring their own future. It is the caregiver who slowly gains your trust, only to manipulate you into signing over control of your assets. It is the friend who urges you to invest in something too good to miss, while knowing that the only person who will benefit is them. The hardest part of this betrayal is that it does not just rob you of money, it robs you of dignity. It makes you question your own judgment. It makes you feel foolish for trusting, embarrassed, and for not seeing it sooner. And that shame, that deep sense of having been deceived, is often what keeps so many silent. But silence only protects the betrayer. By the time we reach old age, we should not have to defend what we have worked for. We should not have to explain why our savings are ours to keep. We should not have to fight for the right to make our own financial decisions. And yet, time and again, people assume that because we are older, we are easier to manipulate. That because we have always helped, we will continue to help, regardless of the cost to ourselves. But enough is enough. If someone has betrayed you financially, they have shown you exactly who they are. And once you see it, there is no going back. They are not sorry for what they have done. They are sorry they got caught. They do not regret hurting you. They regret losing access to what they could take. And that is why they do not deserve your forgiveness. In old age, financial security is not just a luxury. It is a necessity. Protect it. Protect yourself, because no one else will do it for you. 4. Neglect. When people show you that you are no longer a priority. Neglect is not a single act of cruelty. It is not a loud betrayal that leaves you reeling from its impact. Instead, it is a slow, quiet erosion of care, a gradual pulling away until one day you realize that the people who once stood beside you have disappeared. It does not happen overnight. It happens in the missed phone calls, the forgotten birthdays, the conversations that never come. It happens in the way people stop asking how you are, stop checking in, stop making the effort. And at some point, it becomes painfully clear they have made their choice. You are no longer a priority in their life. Neglect is especially painful in old age because it comes after a lifetime of giving. You were there when your friends needed support, when your family needed guidance, when your children needed love. You poured yourself into the people around you, believing that relationships are built on mutual care, that one day when you needed them, they would be there for you. But some people only take. They accept your sacrifices, your time, your patience, never once thinking about the day when you might need the same in return. It is not just the absence that hurts. It is the message that absence sends. When someone neglects you, they are telling you, without words, that you are no longer worth the effort, that their life has moved on and you are nothing more than a memory they visit when it is convenient for them. They will have excuses, always. They are too busy, too overwhelmed, too distracted. But the truth is, people make time for what matters to them. No one is too busy to send a message, to make a phone call, to show up once in a while. If they wanted to be there, they would be. Neglect is a betrayal because it turns love into an afterthought. It makes you question whether all the years of devotion meant anything at all. And worst of all, it forces you into a lonely kind of grief. Not for the loss of a person, but for the loss of the connection you once had. You wait, hoping they will remember. You make excuses for them, telling yourself that life gets in the way. You convince yourself that maybe if you reach out one more time, things will change. But deep down, you know the truth. If they cared, you would not have to beg for their presence. At this stage in life, you do not have time to wait for people to decide you are worth their attention. The people who truly love you will show up. They will check in. They will make sure you know that you are not alone. As for those who have chosen to neglect you, do not chase them. Do not waste your remaining years hoping they will come back. Because if someone can abandon you in your old age, when love, companionship, and care matter most, then they never truly valued you to begin with. And that is something that no amount of forgiveness can change. 5. Disrespect, the slow erosion of your dignity. Disrespect is not always loud. It does not always come in the form of insults or raised voices. Sometimes it is a quiet, insidious force, slipping into your life unnoticed, eroding your sense of worth little by little. It is in the way people interrupt you mid-sentence, as if your words are less valuable. It is in the dismissive tone when they say, "You wouldn't understand." It is in the way your opinions, your needs, your very presence are treated as secondary, an afterthought rather than a priority. In old age, disrespect can be even more cutting because it comes from those who should know better. It is the child who speaks to you as if you are incapable, making decisions about your life without including you. It is the caregiver who ignores your preferences, assuming they know best. It is the friend who trivializes your struggles as if the weight of your years and experiences no longer matter. The world seems to believe that aging means becoming invisible, that the wisdom of a lifetime is somehow less valuable than the arrogance of youth. And that belief, that quiet dismissal, is one of the deepest betrayals of all. You have spent a lifetime proving your worth, building relationships, raising a family, contributing to the world around you. You have lived through hardship, endured loss, and carried responsibilities that others will never fully understand. And yet, as time passes, there are those who act as if those experiences count for nothing. They treat you as if you are fragile, as if your voice no longer carries weight, as if your place in the world is fading. But respect is not something that diminishes with age. If anything, it should grow stronger. Disrespect does not always come from strangers. Often it comes from the people closest to you, the ones who once relied on your strength, the ones who once looked up to you. And that is what makes it hurt the most. There is nothing more painful than realizing that the very people you helped shape into the adults they are today now look at you with impatience, as if your presence is an inconvenience rather than a gift. They do not mean to be cruel, perhaps, but disrespect does not require cruelty. Sometimes it is just neglect. Sometimes it is just indifference. You do not have to accept this. You do not have to sit quietly while people erase your dignity, diminish your value, or treat you as if you no longer matter. Respect is not something you earn and then lose with time. It is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. And if someone cannot offer you that basic level of decency, they do not deserve a place in your life. Forgiveness is often seen as a virtue, but some things should not be forgiven. Disrespect, when repeated, is not a mistake. It is a message. And if someone continually shows you that they do not value you, listen to them. Believe them. Then walk away with your head held high, knowing that your worth is not dependent on whether others recognize it. It exists, unshaken, with or without their approval. 6. Betrayal in love. When devotion is met with disloyalty. Love, when it is real, is built on trust, respect, and commitment. It is the quiet certainty that someone will stand beside you through the storms, just as you have stood beside them. It is the unspoken promise that no matter how time changes your bodies, your circumstances, or your struggles, the bond you share will remain steady. That is why betrayal in love is one of the most painful wounds of all, because it is not just a break in trust, but a violation of everything that love is supposed to mean. When you have spent years, perhaps decades, devoted to someone, their betrayal is not just about the act itself. It is about the years of shared history that suddenly feel like a lie. It is about the nights you comforted them when they were hurting, the sacrifices you made, the dreams you built together. Betrayal turns those moments into something bitter. It makes you question whether the love you believed in was ever real, whether the promises meant anything at all. And that kind of pain is not something that disappears with time. Betrayal in love does not always come in the form of infidelity, though that is one of the most devastating forms. It can also come as abandonment, when a partner withdraws emotionally, when they stop seeing you, stop hearing you, stop caring in the way they once did. It happens when they take you for granted, assuming you will always be there, no matter how little they give in return. It happens when they make choices that harm you, yet expect you to endure them in silence. Love is not just about being present. It is about being committed. And if someone has proven through their actions that they no longer value that commitment, they have already left, even if their body remains beside you. In old age, betrayal in love cuts even deeper, because it comes at a time when loyalty should mean the most. The later years of life should be a time of companionship, of shared memories, of standing together as the world around you changes. It should not be a time of questioning whether the person who once promised to love you has turned away. And yet, for too many, that is exactly what happens. People will tell you that forgiveness is the only way to heal, that you should let go of the hurt, move forward, and try to rebuild. But some betrayals cannot be undone. Some wounds, if forgiven too easily, only invite more pain. If someone has broken the trust that love is built on, if they have chosen themselves at the expense of your dignity, then forgiveness is not the answer. Walking away is. You deserve love that is unwavering. Love that does not need to be begged for, proven, or earned. Love that is as certain in old age as it was in youth. And if someone has shown you that their devotion is conditional, that their commitment disappears when it is inconvenient, believe them. Let them go. Because in the end, betrayal in love is not just about what they did. It is about what they were willing to risk losing. And if they were willing to lose you, then they never truly deserved you. 7. Abandonment, the cruelest betrayal of all. There is no betrayal more painful than abandonment. It is not just about being left behind. It is about the realization that the people who once claimed to care no longer see you as worth their time. It is about standing in the same place while others walk away, watching as they choose to remove themselves from your life, not with words, not with confrontation, but with silence. Abandonment is not always dramatic. It does not always come with a slammed door or a final goodbye. Sometimes it happens slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you wake up and realize that the people who once filled your life are gone. The calls that used to come regularly now come only on holidays, if at all. The visits that were once routine now feel like obligations, squeezed in between things that are more important. The conversations that used to be effortless now feel strained, as if they are merely checking a box rather than truly wanting to be there. It is a cold, bitter truth that many people discover in old age. Some relationships only last as long as you are useful. When you are the one offering support, advice, comfort, and care, they stay. But when the roles reverse, when you are the one in need, they begin to disappear. Some do it out of selfishness, unwilling to give back the same energy they once took freely. Others do it out of fear, unable to face the reality of aging, unwilling to acknowledge that time does not stand still for any of us. And some do it simply because they can, because they assume you will always be there, always waiting, no matter how many times they fail to show up. There is nothing lonelier than realizing that the people you once prioritized have not prioritized you in return. And the worst part is that you do not even get the closure that comes with a clear ending. Instead, you are left with a quiet emptiness, a space that used to be filled with love and connection, but is now just a reminder of what was lost. And in that emptiness, questions arise. Did they ever truly care? Were you ever as important to them as they were to you? What did you do to deserve being forgotten? But the truth is, abandonment is not about you. It is about them. It is about their choices, their priorities, their inability to value what should never be taken for granted. And once you understand that, you realize something even more important. You do not need them to return. The people who walk away have already made their decision. And if they can leave you in your most vulnerable years, when companionship, loyalty, and care matter most, then they have shown you exactly who they are. You do not need to chase them. You do not need to wait for them to come back, because the ones who truly love you will never leave in the first place. Let them go. Not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with the quiet knowledge that you deserve better. Because in the end, abandonment is not just about who left. It is about choosing to hold on to yourself, even when others fail to do the same. Final thoughts. Your peace is more important than their apologies. There comes a time in life when you must decide what is worth holding on to and what is best left behind. You have spent years, decades caring for others, giving second chances, forgiving, overlooking, making excuses for the people you love. You have believed in their promises, their apologies, their declarations of change. And maybe for a time, that felt like the right thing to do. But now in these years, the ones that matter more than any before, you must ask yourself, at what cost? Some betrayals do not deserve forgiveness, not because you are bitter, not because you seek revenge, but because forgiveness should be reserved for those who are truly sorry, those who understand the weight of what they have done, and who make real, lasting efforts to repair the damage. But too often, the people who betray you do not ask for forgiveness because they regret hurting you. They ask because they cannot bear to carry the weight of their own actions. They want to be absolved, to be welcomed back without consequence, to rewrite history so they do not have to face the truth of what they have done. But that weight is not yours to carry. You do not owe anyone your peace, your time, or your presence simply because they have realized too late what they lost. Your well-being is not a sacrifice to be placed on the altar of their guilt. You are not obligated to reopen the door just because they have come knocking. The people who truly value you will never force you to question your worth. They will never ask you to shrink yourself for their comfort, to accept less than what you deserve, to betray yourself in the name of keeping the peace. And those are the only people who deserve a place in your life. Hold on to them. Let go of the rest. And never, ever look back. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.